Welcome everyone to today's meeting of the West of England Mayoral Combined Authority Committee. Before I move on to introductions, can I just go through the very important evacuation procedure? I know we've all heard this before, but please do listen, it is important. In the event of a fire, please await direction from staff members who will help assist with the evacuation. Please do not return to the building until instructed to do so by the fire wardens. That's it. Thank you very much for listening to that. Okay, let's move on to item 1. This is welcome and introductions and apologies for absence. So welcome to this meeting of the West of England Mayoral Combined Authority Committee, online as well as those attending in person today. I'm Dan Norris. I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm going to ask the individuals sitting around with me to introduce themselves. So would you mind, Kevin, saying who you are and who you represent, please?
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, Councillor Kevin Guy. I'm the leader of Bath and North East Somerset Council.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Ian, please.
Thank you. Ian Bolton, co-leader of South Gloucestershire Council.
And I think Maggie Tyrrell, your co, is in the audience. Welcome, Maggie, as well. Tony.
Councillor Tony Dyer, leader of Bristol City Council.
Thank you very much, Tony. Richard Bonner is to my left. Richard.
Thank you, Dan. I'm Richard Bonner. I'm the chair of the West of England Local Enterprise Partnership.
Thank you very much, Richard. And then could our statutory officers say hello? So, Bob, would you introduce yourself, please?
Bob Brown, Director of Law and Governance and Monitoring Officer.
Good afternoon, everybody. Stephen Peacock, Chief Executive.
Solange Russell, Director of Finance, Investments and Commercial and Statutory Section 73 Officer.
Thank you very much indeed. And then we've got Jerome Thomas again to my left. Jerome.
So, Councillor Jerome Thomas, Councillor for Clifton in Bristol, and here as chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee.
Thank you for being here today, Jerome. And then David. David, please.
Hello, yeah, I'm Councillor David Wilcox from the Localism Ward in Bristol, and I'm here as a chair of Audit Committee for the West of England Combined Authority.
Thank you very much. You're also very welcome, of course. And we also have Clare Moody, our Police and Crime Commissioner for Avon and Somerset. My favourite Police and Crime Commissioner for Avon and Somerset this year, I have to say. Claire?
Just as well, because I'm the only one.
Thank you. Claire, do you want to just introduce yourself, please?
I think you just did it.
Okay, if you're happy.
Avon and Somerset Police and Crime Commission.
Thank you. I didn't want to take any words from you if you wanted to speak. Okay, thank you. All right, now the next item is declarations of interest. Do any members have any interest to declare? Richard.
Dan, just to confirm that my register of interests are up to date. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members wanting to say anything on that front? No, in that case, we'll move on to item 3. That's the minutes. The minutes of the meeting held on the 31st of January of this year have been included in our agenda pack, and our members can tend to agree that these minutes are indeed a correct record of that meeting. Yeah, I can see nods. Anyone thinking not? Okay, that's carried in or agreed. Okay, the next item is normally me making chair's announcements. I'll do that at the end if you don't mind. Item 5, items from the public. So we can see the public. Welcome everybody. Lovely to see you all. Now, I think I'm right in saying that there were 7 questions, received in advance of this meeting from 5 individuals. Responses to these questions will be circulated and published on the West of England Mayoral Combined Authority website. And in addition, there were 9 questions. Sorry, I got that wrong. For questions received in advance, and what we've received today as well is 7 statements for today that people will be able to read out today. So let's be clear. These have been circulated to the committee, so the committee members have seen them, everybody, and will be published with the agenda papers on the Combined Authorities website. Some of the statement writers are here today, and I've got a list of names which I'll call out in a moment, and they'll be invited to speak in a moment. There's a maximum time limit of 3 minutes per speaker, although I try and be flexible where I can. Okay, so I've got a list of attendees, so I'll go in the order that I've got them down here. David Redwell, I can see David. David, you're very welcome. Could you start speaking to us, please?
Yeah, David Redwell. I'm the representative on the Bus Advisory Panel for Western Combined Authority and North Somerset Council. So first of all, Dan, can I say thank you for sacking ESEC Medical. It's good news for passengers. I think they failed their contract, and I'm very pleased that we have Thames Valley Transport now going to run Westlink from the 3rd of April. Thank you very much. Let's hope we manage to monitor this contract so it works for passengers and makes it a success for the next year. So thank you very much for the action you took. We were pushing that with you and Hannah Young, and we're very grateful. On rail, can I just say that we need to make sure you run a £35 million rail business, which is very successful. Can we just make sure in the rail white paper that WECA's name's all over it, and we need to devolve those local rail services that we run to Worcester and Salisbury and Severn Beach and Taunton, that we make it clear to ministers that we wish to continue to run those services and also continue, with the funding of course, continue to have control over the fares. Some of the fares, as Tina Biggs will say, are far too high. We need local fares that are in line, like the B-Line network is being proposed in Manchester, integration with bus, and we certainly need WECA branding, Chief Executive, on the side of those trains. We paid first 35 million and we don't have a single WECA logo on the side of those trains, and I think that's very important. So under devolution, welcome the work on the Portishead line, which is ongoing. Minister's very keen that should happen, and we need to get progress on Hembury. Still haven't got the planning, and working for the planning for that. Charfield's being built as we speak. There's obviously a need to then look at Ashton Gates and Anns and Salford and the other stations. On the buses, you've got an equalities officer. Can we just make sure there's interchanges on the Portway scheme that Bristol's proposing? The links across between the stations at Sharhampton and the village and the buses at Seamill, Shamlin and Portway need looking at by your officers. I know Ed's on it, but spending £9 million of taxpayers' money retarring the Portway when I can't cross the road in my wheelchair because the bridges aren't accessible is something I hope Tony and yourself are going to look at. Hannah's going to raise it with you as well. But it needs to go through your equalities. You're the Transport Authority. And I can't have a situation where a West train on the Severn Beach line doesn't meet a West bus, which is funded by this authority. And I've spent over a week and a half now with the department at senior level in Falmouth, in Manchester, I think in Bristol. Okay, so integration is a big thing in the department. So I just ask that the equalities officers look at all the schemes as we go forward on CRTRS. And then on the bus service improvement plan, we need to keep working on the services. I'm very pleased there's a breakthrough with Gloucestershire. In fact, they want to join this authority. They're going to Cabinet on Thursday. But we've now got talking about the Wootton-under-Edge Stroud corridor with them. So I'm very grateful. We need to do a South Gloucestershire review. But the new mayor will have to decide on the new bus systems when she comes in, or he comes in after the local elections. So thank you very much. Those are what passengers are looking for at the moment.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Can I thank you for, over the past 4 years, your inputs. Very important things like disability access to transport and connectivity is clearly really important, and you're a very good ambassador for people with disabilities, among other things as well, of course, and it is really important. And, you know, we do our best, but we need those inputs if we're going to be able to understand and make those things work. So thank you can I thank you as well as you thanking me?
Can I also say thank you to all the officers, to all the officer support I've had from the public transport unit, both bus and rail, inside WECA, because without their help and your help, I probably wouldn't be able to do the work.
How many are there in that team?
There is a small team, but they're very effective in your bus division. Quite a bigger team in the rail division.
Well, I'm sure that it won't just be me, it'll be the other members here today who want to thank those officers because it's a really important job they do.
Yeah, and their input.
It sounds like they're doing it well,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
they do.
great.
They
Thank
do.
you for that
Thank you.
feedback. Okay, right, now is Peter here, Peter Tyser. Peter, good to see you again. How are you doing? It's a while since we were councillors together, I think. How long ago is it?
Oh, stop counting. Yeah.
Have you? All right, okay. Peter.
Right, good afternoon. I'm chairman of Pilning and Severn Beach Parish Council and the council's representative on SevernNet, also a board member of SevernNet. SevernNet, as you may know, is a membership organisation which seeks to represent the interests of businesses and communities in the coastal zones surrounding the ports, Avonmouth and Portbury, so it crosses the boundaries of the unitary authorities. My attention today is on item 12 of today's agenda, to draw your attention to matters which may simply be an oversight, but certainly in our view need to be included in your thinking. For the future of the region, especially if we are to enable growth so badly needed, we need to realise the enormous potential that is Sevenside, which is mostly within the parish of Pilning and Severn Beach. We have presented our views to South Gloss, to a cabinet meeting discussing the new local plan, and to planning meetings dealing with residential applications on the former Filton airfield. The parish is unique in its coastal location, the northern part of which is a greenbelt, and the southern half being part of the Avonmouth Sevenside enterprise area. Within the parish, the soon-to-be-completed M49 junction, which itself is a prime example of oversight. It should have been built at the time of building the motorway at a fraction of today's cost. The parish has 2 rail stations, one with well-used trains, yet no car park, and the other with a spacious car park, but no trains. Both offer a potential to provide a sustainable solution to the travel to work needs of the many employees that Sevenside has to attract in order to be successful. Reports received by 7net from many businesses in the area say that they have serious difficulty in attracting staff, so bad that property developers now cite this as the reason for many sites standing vacant and potential occupiers' reluctance in committing. Even the proximity of Seven Beach Station is frustrated by the lack of a bus through the employment area and also being beyond the limit of the e-bikes network. South Gloss drew up an infrastructure-led master plan for Sevenside and are in the process of producing a new local plan. We, for our part, are developing our neighbourhood plan and have been active in pressing the case for our area. But we are told that for matters that are strategic, we need to talk to the Mayoral Combined Authority, hence I'm here today. The list of schemes in your report has nothing west of the M5, believe it or not, yet there are numerous items that really ought to be there, hence the thought that this might be an oversight. If the aim is to generate commercial growth on Sevenside, then the infrastructure needed has to be in the programme to make it happen. Developers in the planning applications always claim the number of jobs in their proposed development, yet if the residents of Bristol, Charlton, Hayes and Brabazon have no practical means of getting to work, apart from the private car, then the area is destined to be a white elephant. I won't read the list which I have attached because I believe you have a copy, and these are not in any priority order, but I'll refer to item 3, which is Pilning Station. We've had an experienced rail timetable planner involved in this and confirms that the mainline timetable can accommodate additional stops required at Pilning. So in summary, we have the workspace ready to go. The local plans have the housing allocations, but somebody's forgotten to join them up. The local council and 7net are willing to work with you to assist in any way we can. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Peter, and thank you, as always, because you're assiduous in giving me a call now and again and messages about some of these issues, and I thank you for that, because that does inform me and makes a big difference. Ian, I'm going to put you on the spot. What's happening with the M49 junction? Is it near to completion now or sorting? Because it's been an absolute mystery, hasn't it, to many people?
It's not near to completion as far as building work is concerned, but certainly progress has been made to get the planning and the purchasing and also the ecological issues around there sorted. So there's been great progress made in the last 2 years.
Right, okay, thank you for that, Ian. Okay, right, thank you again, Peter. The next person is Helen Hughes. Helen. Hello, Helen.
Hello, thank you for allowing me to speak. My statement is on the subject of the East Bristol livable neighbourhood, and there are some residents of the area here today. And I spoke to it earlier at the earlier meeting, but I'll just read what I wrote on the statement this time, because I ad-libbed a bit last time. So, the West of England Combined Authority is the authority that's agreed to and provided the funding for the East Bristol livable neighbourhood. And I say livable with a bit of a smile because it's a very strange word to use for what's happening there. This funding has enabled a huge amount of bureaucracy over the last couple of years and has there's been a couple of consultation processes which have been utterly unfit for purpose, because we can see that in the fact that, so I'm ad-libbing again, it's demonstrated by the number of people who have spoken out against the scheme since the implementation was begun in November 2024. People simply didn't know about it, even though the Bristol City Council claims that people were sent 5 pieces of correspondence about it in the area. During that time, a lot of them never got anything and didn't know about it. A petition started by Melissa Topping here actually gathered 5,000 signatures, and it was triggered a debate in Bristol City Council. And a Facebook group of over 3,000 people who clearly do not want the scheme. Show that it's very evident they don't want it. There are posts every day saying how difficult life is being made for them ever since Beaufort Road was closed in the area. And now, of course, everything's got a lot worse. And each attempt to implement further road closures had been, until recently, prevented by local residents, some of them here, often immigrant women, from quite traumatic backgrounds, and women with disabilities who just went out and stood in the street in protest and prevented the work happening. Wednesday morning, early in the morning, in the early hours, the council, or Ed Plowden, sent ETM contractors and a heavy police presence, which I hope the Police and Crime Commissioner has taken note of, including 2 drones and apparently a helicopter circling the area as well, to complete the work that the funding which WECA provided has enabled against the wishes of so many of the residents. The police threatened the protesters who managed, or the police or the security guards, I'm not sure which, but it's a bit unclear. Both. Threatened the protesters who managed to get out on the street early in the morning to protest. The lady sitting next to me was on a mobility scooter and was physically prevented from moving freely in the area. She says when someone grabs her mobility scooter and tries to control it, okay, that is the same as for other people having their body physically touched and controlled. It feels to the people of the area like war has been declared on them in the night for the police presence to arrive and come down with drones and contractors trying to do the work against their wishes. Just, yeah, they felt very stressed. Their emotional and mental and physical health has been affected. Their fears and distress continue to be ignored and are instead actively and paternalistically dismissed as ignorant and irrelevant. The only logic they seem to have in Bristol City Council is that the funding which you have provided needs to be spent because they've got it, so therefore it must be spent, which seems to the people living there just terrible. And this is all in the name of improving public health and safety in an area where there have been negligible traffic accidents and issues of pollution. And it's in fact just pushing all these problems onto boundary roads where they get much, much worse. And that's been seen in other LTNs in other parts of the country. So to me, it looks like a dangerous ideology which is riding roughshod over the actual needs of real people. Thank you. Oh, and I'm just appalled and would ask that you really stop funding this scheme immediately.
Okay, thank you very much, Helen. You made a very clear and articulate case. Thank you for that, and we've all listened very carefully to that. We can hear your sincerity and passion about what you're saying, so thank you for doing that. Is Stuart Phelps here, please? Have I said your name right, Stuart? Yes. Thank you.
It's almost impossible to explain how it felt to many of the residents on Barton Hill when 60-odd police officers, contractors, started putting in planters. Now, we don't see the police on Barton Hill as often as we would like. The Police and Crime Commissioner has endlessly been asked for more resources. Yet, on a civil matter, a Somali woman who should be here today isn't here. In my personal opinion, is probably suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder following on from having walked into what she described as a war zone on her own back door. Our community is being split on race and class lines by the actions of the City Council for the 3rd time in a row. And each time that split occurs, we have greater and greater problems trying to bring the community back together. You're all aware that at the moment there are extremists on all sides trying to find ways of talking to people who are disaffected and trying to find ways of... And this process is feeding it. My statement has gone through some of the disability issues, but as somebody who professionally has run a number of consultation programs and affected a number of significant social changes, I cannot believe how this is being handled. And I'm sorry, but there are real questions about whether or not the council is capable of learning, given this is the 3rd time it's done it. I'm not going to take up too much more of your time, but I am going to ask you, as the authority that has funded, to significantly investigate what is being done with funds that you have passed through, because of the damage that it is doing to the community, which is one of the most deprived in the area, and is full of people who have incredible potential, but at the moment are going backwards.
Thank you very much, Stuart, and thank you for being concise, because I think it was all the more powerful for that, actually. So thank you for your wording and your points. Is Melissa Topping here, please? Hello, Melissa. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello. I shall just try and highlight the points of my statement rather than read it all, if that's okay.
You're very welcome, whatever way you want to do it.
Thank you. I'm here today as a resident of Barton Hill to express deep concern regarding the use of WECA funding in the implementation of the East Bristol Livable Neighbourhood Scheme. This project is being forced upon our community with a severe lack of meaningful consultation, leading to detrimental impacts on residents, businesses and vulnerable individuals. Specifically, I raise the following critical issues: lack of inclusive consultation, disregard for community concerns, negative impacts on vulnerable groups, detrimental effects on businesses, lack of a transparency and accountability. Evidence and documentation can be provided upon request. We are told that funding cannot be reallocated for anything other than this scheme and its restrictions alone. Therefore, we urgently request an immediate review of the East Bristol Livable Neighbourhood Trial and its expenditure of WECA funding. Following the May elections, enforce a freeze on WECA funding allowances to Bristol City Council for schemes that have not been requested by residents and where funding is issued for consultancy fees related to this and similar schemes, pending a thorough investigation and reassessment. Or alternatively, repurpose funding for traffic calming measures needed, designing our streets with the community and the Police Crime Commissioner to ensure traffic calming measures that are not only reduce speeding, but also help reduce crime and antisocial behaviour. Our community deserves a transparent and inclusive process that addresses our needs and concerns. We have attempted to work with councillors and the LN team, but have been ignored. We ask for your intervention to ensure that our voices are heard and our community is not further harmed by this poorly implemented scheme. Whereas you've heard, yesterday, council contractors, ETM, arrived at 3 a.m. to block our roads off. Police, security and drones with very heavy-handed tactics. This has now left me without my large disabled vehicle access home and with future fears for our safety and lives ahead. Thank you for your time today.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Melissa, are you around at the end of the meeting? I'll have a chat to you, okay, if that's all right. Okay, are you okay? All right, well done, you spoke well. Is Caroline Dunn here, please? Sorry, Tony, did you want to come in? Apologies, Tony, I didn't see you. Thank you for telling me. Tony.
Okay, thank you, Dan. I've listened to the statements, both the ones that have just been made and the ones that have been made earlier. I've taken notes and I've got copies of the statements that have been made. I will feed them back to the Transport and Connectivity Chair. If there is an urge on the part of the West of England Combined Authority to review the consultation that has been done in the past, I'm happy to work with whether it be the current mayor or any future mayor to look at how this has been implemented. And I think it's very clear that there are some very strong feelings about this process, and therefore, no, we do take those seriously, and I will review the statements that have been put in, both to this committee, the earlier committee, and also to full council earlier.
Thank you very much, Tony. Well, I'm going to speak to Melissa. You may want to join us, I don't know, and obviously you and I are very likely to want to speak about this in any event, given what we're hearing. Okay, thank you very much again, Melissa. Sorry. Claire, sorry, apologies, Claire.
Yes, I just think having the point being made around the police presence this morning, or yesterday morning, sorry, and with regards to this, and in my role as Police and Crime Commissioner, I obviously have a governance and scrutiny role around policing, so I just wanted to acknowledge the statements that have been made, and indeed it is something I'm aware of, it's something I've been investigating, and it is something that I will be following up on. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you very much indeed, Claire. So, Melissa, you can hear we're listening, we're responding back to you, and thank you very much for your contribution and the other people who've contributed. Caroline Dunn, is Caroline here, please? Hello, Caroline, how are you?
Caroline's asked me to see if she could have a little bit longer for her.
I'm sure we'll be able to sort that out for you, Caroline. Welcome.
Thank you. Lord Mayor, sorry, I'm not sure if that's the right title, but...
Anything, Dan will be fine.
Thank you. I'd like to talk to you about the Public Sector Equality Duty Act. Sorry, I'm having problems. I do not believe that either WECA or Bristol City Council are paying due attention to important statutory legislation, the Public Sector Equality Duty, Article 149. I need to remind you that it all exists, I feel. You are not carrying through either the spirit or the letter of this essential law from 2010 legislation. There seems to be no suitable disabled consultation or representation on any committees. And David Ridgewell and Alan do their best, but they are only individual people trying to talk to you about and put some contribution in from the massive disabled population in Bristol City. There are far too many instances happening where we disabled people are being gated out of access to our city, gated out of essential pathways to crucial destinations such as doctors. That's happening in East Bristol, and forced into heavily reduced access to other parts of our already heavily segregated city. You need to put our requirements front and centre before anything else. I ask you to do this bearing in mind specifically funding for all the bus gates, new transport routes and stations you lot are putting in, and the ones you've already put in, or have put in, or Bristol City Council is putting in. And I'd like you to put a hold on all projects while a real reassessment of disabled requirements is taken into consideration. Consult us, if I have one message for the committee. Consult us. That is it. You need to consult with disabled people while you are drawing your plans up. And consultation seems to be minimal at all levels. It's important that you consult us at every stage of the way. I want you to put a hold on all projects while a real reassessment of each is carried out that genuinely takes into consideration the access requirements of assorted types of disabled people. There is no possibility that you'll get everything right first time, and there will always be errors and there will always be omissions. And we're very lucky we have David Ridgewell to pick up these, but he is picking up far too much. Somebody somewhere is not doing their job. Somebody somewhere is not doing their job. We should not have to keep going and saying about things that should be blindingly obvious from the start. And I would like to say the East Bristol Livable Neighbourhood Scheme, sorry, I'm having trouble with this, is apparently throwing up massive problems for disabled residents. And the bus gates over to Bedminster are going to cut our city even more decisively in two and curtail shopping in that little shopping area for people like me. There are huge problems, as everybody knows, with accessing toilets. And for many people, for various reasons, not just the disabled, they're absolutely crucial. Why don't you plan some back in? For disabled people in particular, they can make the difference between being able to leave our homes and go out at all. A toilet should be provided at suitable transport points, even if it's only one, with a locked door. You know, I urge the committee to think about these things. And also, there's something simple you could do straight away. You could ensure that the disabled diamond bus pass can be used 24 hours a day. Why do you think we only want to use it in off-hour times? What about the disabled people who do get to go to work? You know, I don't need a bus pass because I'm too bad and I have to have a car. But I am saying there are many people who need to go out and use buses at other times of day. And you could ensure the disabled diamond bus pass could be used 24 hours a day. So I ask you to stop paying lip speak to the 2010 legislation. I ask you to start including us in planning. You've got about 3 or 4 people who are trying to do something where they can. You've got no genuine representation of disabled people, as far as I can see, on any of your committees or decision-making bodies. There seems to be no process that I have become aware of whereby we can actually say, before you start making huge, expensive messes, please remember us.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Well, look, Caroline, I've been listening very carefully, and as have the other members. We do take these things very seriously. I'm sorry we are not meeting the standards that you hope. We're going to do our best to redouble our efforts. My Chief Executive, Stephen Peacock, is listening. First thing Monday, he will be looking at the points you've raised to double check if we could be doing something better and more positively, because it is important. Thank you. Well, we've heard that too. But what I heard was you saying consultation, consultation, consultation. Rather like my good friend David Miliband wrote, education, education, education. So we will hear that, and we will look at that, and we will think hard about that. And I ask you to come to further meetings when there's a new mayor to keep the pressure on, because it does make a difference. That's why we have these meetings. We actually, interestingly, I was told by one of my officers, we hold more of this kind of forum than most other combined authorities to allow people to speak in the way that you've done so well just now. And it's very important for the reasons that are obvious, that we get to hear about stuff that we might not otherwise hear, because we're very busy people and lots of people are always talking to us, but we want to get and hear every voice as much as we possibly can. So thank you for being very clear and very passionate and making your points very, very much spot on. Just to let you know, I have made my view known that it's not dissimilar to you to some of my officers. There's something going through the process. It has to be done properly. The officers have to make decisions by, I'm hoping, that when they've reflected on the things that I've made known to them, that you'll be hearing something that you might be pleased about. But I can't prejudice that decision, because it has to be made properly and independently by the officers. But I have made my views clear, and they're not a million miles from what you're saying.
Can I just say thank you for listening to me so closely? It's obvious you're paying attention. But I would just like to say, decision-making bodies need to stop using ideology to make decisions. They need to start using common sense and the realities. And the truth of the matter is, however much people might not like cars, some of us, much against our will and at great distress, are required now to have a blue badge and to have to use a car. And you've got to remember that you must include us in. We are already struggling as disabled people with phenomenal problems that when I was 35 I could never have conceived of. And we do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah. And all we are asking for is consideration and the help that should be there in the good legislation that has gone through, like the 2010 Act that I was referring to. And please, why are we always, generation after generation, reinventing the wheel?
Caroline, a question I ask very often. Can I assure you that Ian, Tony, Kevin and Clare really share concerns about making sure that people with disabilities are properly heard, not just because they believe that, and they all do. We have differences in other ways, but we all are as one on this, because it's the law as well. We mustn't forget that. It's so important. It's been legislated for, and I think I actually voted for that piece of legislation, if I'm not mistaken. But you're right, it's about, you can have laws, but they've got to be making a difference so that people with disabilities can be heard and listened to, and actions can be taken to make their lot better.
They have to be implemented.
Yeah, you're right.
And people need to stop thinking about party politics.
Yeah.
And they need to start thinking about what can we do to make the plight of disabled people better. How can we follow the legislation already there?
Thank you, Karen. I'm going to stop you now, or people will be talking about us. They'll think there's something going on. Thank you very much for you're very welcome. Thank you for making a very passionate and moving set of comments. Ian, I think Ian wants to speak. Ian.
Dan, just wondering if you want to mention the announcement that was made yesterday about the diamond cards.
Why don't you do it?
Okay, that's exactly what you're asking for has been agreed, and that was announced yesterday, that disabled people will have diamond cards 24/7. So thank you, Dan, for that.
Thank you very much again. Thank you everyone who's spoken so far. Now, Christina Biggs. Christina. Thank you.
Thank you.
Suzanne.
Christina Biggs of the Friends used to be Friends of Suburban Bristol Railways, but we're...
You changed your name. You told me last time.
No, yeah, Bristol Rail Company. Well, just for those who might not have heard. So we just wanted to thank you, Dan, for what you delivered during your time here. Half-hour service, 7 beaches, Weston-super-Mare, Ashley Down and Portway Park and Ride, Porter's Headline, firmly back on track, thanks to your leadership on 2 separate occasions, last year and this year. Pill Station is part of that. Phase 2, Gloucester to Salisbury now is half-hour, so up to Worcester as well, so people get far more... Just wanted to make a general comment about annual birthday bus stops. Has been friends of mine have commented. Thank you very much. Just wanted to say that local rail is always a good thing to invest in. There's plenty of room for improvement even now. There's disabled access to put in on several stations. We've got South Entrance on the way, Hembury and North Filton coming in, rail bus interchange. We're still waiting for that bus stop at Ashley Down Station. Wesley Junction, be great to get that done. Western Gateway, James White doing some lovely work there at Western Gateway because you've seconded him there, haven't you? Trams, a plan coming up for Rapid West. The idea that trams could not only do Bristol itself, but we could extend that to Thornbury, to Clevedon. There's lots of old railway track, so lots of places to put more money into rail. I think nobody's ever said we don't want a railway station behind. It's not a not in my backyard. It's always yes in my backyard. Please put local rail. Obviously, with the right disabled access, it's always good news. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christina, and thank you for mentioning about the local railway frequencies. I mean, that's gone up by, in the last year that we measured, 27%, 3.4 million journeys in a year. It's a real success story. That's why we want to get all these other lines set up, because then we can increase the frequencies even more with, even more benefits to the public and the environment, of course. Okay, thank you very much, Christina. Thank you everyone who spoke. That was very interesting. Thank you for doing that. I know it's a brave thing to do, to speak in public, so well done. Okay, we're now going to move on to item 6, and that's comments from the Chair of the West of England Local Enterprise Partnership Board. Always the highlight of my meeting, as you know, Richard.
Well done, thank you very much. I just wanted to open today's proceedings by saying thank you for your service over the last 4 years as Mayor. I'm just going to share with you some of the highlights I think that the team...
Don't do the lowlights, don't do that.
No. We've heard from the audience actually just some of the benefits that have accrued around the investments that we've been making in our transport systems. And whilst there's more to do, we have made some real progress through the last 4 years. We've also been really heartened by the approach that you've led towards our nature-based strategies and recoveries, and the importance that that's going to be as part of our region and its ability to function properly in years to come. So thank you for that. Also, your desire to improve the Green Fund, but also, as we heard recently, the ability to launch the Green West Impact Fund. All of those measures are going to make real impacts in the future ahead. The Skills and Growth Hub funding, we've secured more funding recently, and thank you for your efforts in bringing that to the fruition. It makes a real difference for business to get the people with the right jobs. And just finally, the collaboration and work that's gone on across many partners for Temple Quarter, the establishment of the LLP, the ability to bring forwards significant amounts of land for housing and jobs. So thank you for everything that you've done. And of course, you'll still be with us in the region in your new role, and we look forward to your support going forward.
And I look forward to continuing that relationship with you in a different way, of course. And thank you for your work, Richard.
Yeah, no,
because,
thank you.
you've been in with me for most of that 4 years. I think it's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right. Okay.
Just turning very briefly to a few matters. Can we just say that, as we recognised last time, the best value notice, it's fantastic to see that that has now not been extended. So again, thank you to all of the panel members for your works in ensuring that we no longer have that with us. The business ahead of us today around the climate and ecological strategy and action plan is to be welcomed. And similarly, as I've just mentioned, the ongoing investment in our transport infrastructure projects. There's a lot in the business today, which is, again, to be welcomed. And just finally, around the fiduciary approach around the budgets, it is good to see that we seem to be in sound financial status, that we are building our reserves as have been recommended. It puts us on a strong footing for the future, and it ensures that we have got the ability to weather some of those future challenges in the programmes, the big investment programmes that we have ahead of us. And actually, as the funds and our activities grow, that strong financial standing gives us real confidence that we can move forward. So thank you to the whole team for that.
Thank you again, Richard. Appreciate that. Okay, we're now going to move to item 7, please. That's comments from the West of England Combined Authority Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and that's Jerome. Thank you.
So the first thing was we welcomed Councillor Lucy Hodge, Councillor from Baines, elected as Vice Chair for the remainder of the municipal year. We too welcomed the lifting of the Best Value Notice, and thank Dan, as we do now, for your service to the people of the region and your continuing service to the people of the region in a different role. Obviously, there's more detail in our feedback on the website. We're just picking out a few highlights. The Mayor and Stephen Peacock kind of made clear to the members of the committee that the Cambridgeshire bypass bus lane project hadn't been cancelled, it was still in the budget, but that the consultation had been suspended, so that clarity was useful. Sort of going forward in terms of developing the role of scrutiny, the Chief Executive is happy for there to be an action tracker of sort of actions that scrutiny has developed. So it'll be really good to kind of follow that and have a kind of systematic approach to kind of a kind of proactive approach to scrutiny, I would say. In terms of transport, at our last scrutiny meeting, we raised some concerns about the lack of detail in the documented scope of the Arup study on bus service reform. From a response in today's questions, I also understand that will now also include Arup looking at our transport governance arrangements. So making sure that we've got some sort of getting that greater clarity in there. We understand there's been a bus franchising workshop between the transport leads and the unitary authorities and the WECA officers, which we very much welcome. But just making sure that we've got a kind of a systematic way of concisely communicating progress and priorities in the area of transport, so that we've got kind of good coordination. There's a lot of different moving parts here, and having that concise communication of shared priorities and progress will be really helpful. The update on the Climate and Ecological Strategy and Action Plan, which the Director of Environment, Roger Hall, presented, was very much welcomed. I think we will kind of keep repeating when we're looking at our climate plans, it's really helpful to see what the carbon savings are associated with particular investments, so that we can kind of develop an increasingly informed approach to where it is as a region that will get our greatest carbon savings. On the transport infrastructure, very much welcome the success on the Portishead line in Westminster so far, and note that although it's improved in principle, there's still a slight risk that it could be impacted by the comprehensive spending review. So I hope that everybody does everything they can in the authority to minimise the likelihood of that. And I think that's it.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much, Jerome, and thank you for what you are doing as chair. And I obviously was in front of you in your committee earlier this week, and I think it's a committee that I've attended the vast majority of meetings. Now, some of the questions aren't always the easiest to answer, and they're unexpected, so that makes it kind of entertaining viewing, I guess. But it is an important thing. I know that my previous mayor didn't attend very many. I hope that the new mayor does. I do think it's an important function. The one thing I would just make a plea for, which I did earlier this week with you, is to ask that we try and encourage less knockabout to sort of like catch the mayor out, and maybe even give the mayor notice that they can give an even better answer, which would be more meaningful and more helpful to everybody, I think. So that's the only plea I'd make, having gone through that experience. I say it right at the end of my term, because I don't want to be seen to be trying to influence what you guys do, but as a positive, friendly piece of feedback, I think the organisation and the mayor would be better off for that better level and better quality of scrutiny and overview. And you take it or you leave it, that's your call. Okay, thank you very much indeed, Jerome. Right, item 8, this is now comments from the West of England Combined Authority Audit Committee. I think, David, you're going to speak to us today about that, as usual. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Audit Committee met on Monday the 3rd of March at the respective offices. We had a full complement of members from all 3 unitary authorities and 3 independent members. We discussed the following. The public forum raised concerns about how the bus service improvement plan was designed and communicated. The Audit Committee work plan. So many items are coming to the committee that we are planning an extra session in the summer to ensure we are giving due diligence to the tasks presented to the committee. We viewed the internal audit work plan, and we had an update on the transformation programme. Obviously, we met on the 3rd, and the best value notice didn't expire to the 5th. We noted the work of the team, and I would now express my congratulations to the authority that the notice has been removed. The committee will still be monitoring the transformation programme closely, though. The Treasury Management Monitoring Report. The committee was concerned that the 4.8 million unrealised loss across all of our pooled investments that would be used to pay off the statutory override from the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government that is due to be called in at the end of this month. The committee expressed concern that the extra funds might be needed in these volatile financial market times. Hopefully, the Ministry will not be calling in the statutory override in the recent future. There were changes to the Procurement Act 2023 and how they will affect the operational processes of the combined authority. The monitoring and evaluation framework is an essential project initiated by the internal audit team. The committee emphasises that this framework must be implemented throughout the combined authority and monitored closely to ensure its effectiveness. We had the risk register review, and we asked pertinent questions on the following risks: CRR 14, CRSTS delivery. Both committees will receive a further briefing on this infrastructure delivery programme. We are very concerned that the combined authority will not meet the target dates for delivery in March 2027. CRR 10, unable to attract and retain diverse high-quality talent. It is vital to ensure that the combined authority recruits and maintains the best people, and we will be monitoring this. We also considered the Audit Committee's annual report, which is available for download on the website. And we don't have a date for the next meeting set. And hopefully that will be sometime after May. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Appreciate that and appreciate the work that you do, and your committee is important in the same way as I mentioned to Jerome with his committee. And I'd make the same plea, please, that advanced questions for a mayor, if you're scrutinising them, will give you better answers and more informed answers. And I think that's good for the organisation, it's good for the mayor, because mayors need to be stretched and to think about things and be challenged. It makes them make better decisions, I think. Okay. Right, now let's move on to Clare Moody, our Police and Crime Commissioner. Would you like to say a few words, please, Clare?
Thank you very much. And I just want to say thank you for the chance to attend these meetings, to be more visibly involved with the work of West of England, because as I said at the last meeting, we have a lot of shared agenda around how we work together in supporting skills, employment opportunities, entrepreneurship chances, working together in terms of, for me, I obviously represent the whole of Avon and Somerset, but working with the 3 local authorities that are part of the West of England Combined Authority, because we know with all the challenges that we face, you know, the financial challenges, the environment that we are working in, that it's through partnership working that we are better able to deliver those opportunities for our people, better able to find those paths for particularly, I think, our young people and their futures, and ensuring that we can build that secure future as well. So I will leave it there, I think, at this point, but I really appreciate, as I say, the chance to play a more visible role in the work of the West of England Combined Authority too.
Thank you very much indeed, Claire. And can I say how much I appreciate you coming to these meetings? As you know, I've been keen for you to attend because I think we need joined up politics, and I think it's a self-evidently sensible thing to do. But it will be down to the new Mayor to decide if they continue to invite you, but I would urge them very strongly. I would drop them a note for what it's worth to suggest that that is a very important thing to continue with, and obviously it'll be down to the other leaders whether they're happy as well about that, but I suspect they probably will be. And not least because we are working on things like violence, the use of knives, violent crime, violence against women and girls. Those kind of things are issues that I want to be hearing from you about, and I'm sure our future mayor will want to be completely in the loop on those things as well. It really does make a difference because there's some real challenges out there. Resources are really tight, and we have to think in new and creative and collaborative ways if we're going to make a real difference, as we must. It's too important a set of issues for us to fail, so we've got to get it right. Thank you, Claire.
I really appreciate that, Dan. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to now move to item 9. Thank you, everybody, for all those contributions. They're really valuable. Thank you. Okay, item 9, Best Value Notice Progress Update. Well, we've heard about it several times today. We've heard about it in the recent news. So, as everybody knows, the Best Value Notice has ended. All I'd simply say is, obviously, I'm pleased about that, but I feel like it's a bit like being punched in the face and then someone saying, it's great your bruising's gone, because I think we could have avoided it, if I'm honest. It didn't need to happen. It happened, it's history, we move on. Isn't it good that we're in a better place and able now to look forward in a positive way, I hope, because there is so much that we want to do. I want to build, assuming we vote ahead on the railway line, the Bristol and Portishead railway line, I want that to be a major success because, let me tell you, not just as the mayor now, but as having been a government minister, there's nothing more likely to get us future resources of size and scale to really make a difference than being able to point to things that we have done well of big scale. In other words, you get a virtuous circle is created, and so it grows. We have had a fantastic leadership, I have to say, in terms of dealing with this best value notice with Stephen Peacock. Stephen's come in and given us a very interesting perspective and a helpful perspective in trying to negotiate that, because it is a complicated thing. I don't think I'd even include it in my memoirs. It's so involved and so dry, to be honest, but it is involved. It has been quite an education for me to see all the different parties that are involved in all the different bits. And balancing that, Stephen, has been hard but important. And that was one of the things that we chose you to come in and do this very important job for us, because we needed to get out of that. And we got out of it as quickly as anyone has ever done it. So we dealt with it very, very well. We just didn't deal with it very well beforehand. We should have avoided it, in my view. And there may be a bit in my memoirs that will be more interesting and more juicy about why that happened. But anyway, that's another story for another day. Okay, so look, I moved the report. Can I call for a seconder? Is there a seconder, please? Tony, thank you very much. Do you want to speak to that, Tony? Now or maybe later?
I'll just quickly speak to it, just to say, I mean, I think it is a testament to the efforts of colleagues to improve the way we've worked together over the last year. I'm still relatively new, so I'd like to say thanks to all officers and my political colleagues for the work you've done with me since I became leader of Bristol last year. And like you, Dan, I hope and I'm positive that we can continue this work with the new mayor, whoever that may be after the election, and start to think as a region how we can maximise the benefits offered by potential well, what we know will be further devolution going forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tony. Okay. Would any of the other members like to speak? Ian.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. It's obviously really positive news for the region that the best value notice has been allowed to lapse. It's a clear recognition, I believe, from government that, and I hope for our part as an incoming partnership administration in South Gloucestershire, I hope from the very start of our administration that we've all been working collectively and collaboratively together for the betterment of the region. And we are undoubtedly now on a positive trajectory, and we commit to continue to working collaboratively with whoever our incoming mayor will be, with a hope to achieve the established mayoral combined authority status, which we believe will secure considerable benefits that will bring for our region, for our residents and our businesses. So this is positive. Thank you for all the work for my colleagues and for all officers to recognise the issues that everyone has dealt with front and centre. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Kevin?
Yeah, thank you, Dan. I echo the words that have already been said, but I think it's really important that this best value note has been lifted because it has had an impact on our ability to negotiate with the government and draw down funds. But it's crucial that we're still tackling some of these issues. So I'm very grateful that the committee have agreed to stay around for 6 months to help us and the new mayor ensure that we do tackle these issues and we get them resolved. So I appreciate that commitment from the committee, and that should be noted. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And I don't want to spoil this sort of consensus, but the evidence doesn't show that it's had any impact on what we've been able to draw down or attract, actually. And that's been the skill of Stephen and the team, because it was important that we kept getting resources coming in and we were able to use it. We've had the minimal time in this situation. We're now able to put boosters on and get on with all the other things. And the fact that we're hopefully going to be making a decision shortly that we'll be able to point to as an important catalyst for future attracting resource and investment is really, really important. Okay, now that is a recommendation for noting. Can I ask if that is noted, please? Do members note that? All nods? Thank you very much indeed. Okay, thank you indeed. Right, item 10. This is the delivery assurance item. So this report seeks the approval of a number of change requests for projects in the approved investment fund and CRSTS programmes. I'll move the report. Can I ask for a seconder, please? Thank you, Kevin, very much. Would you like to speak to this, Kevin?
Very briefly, thank you, Dan. Yeah, there are some really important articles in this particular programme, particularly Bath Central Riverside, Bath High Street's renewal, Milsom Quarter, and there's the Summer Valley Enterprise Zone. It's important that we get on with delivering. We don't want to be in a position where funds are not being spent. So I'm very keen that we move forward at high pace on getting these important schemes delivered across the region. So I'm more than happy to support this paper.
Thank you very much indeed, Kevin. And can I just say, Kevin, obviously as a local MP for your council area, I'm very keen to join you in that endeavour because the Summer Valley thing has gone on forever and among other things, and we just need to get the delivery done, as you quite rightly say. So I take my hat off to you for saying that today as well. Does anyone else wish to speak on this? Ian.
Yes, thank you. Obviously, again, support this paper. We note the business case change request on page 39. It's important that we can continue to work collaboratively now to start the planned transition from CRSTS to CRSTS2. As we are all aware, transport is one of the region's main barriers to economic growth, so we need to ensure that the CRSTS2 programme is strategic in its nature, and that underpins both the emerging local growth plan at our regional level and the authorities' local plans or our statutory development plans, which will determine where new homes are going to be built and where employment land to support new jobs will be allocated. So I'm looking forward to being actively engaged in the development of the CRSTS2 programme very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Tony.
To echo what Ian just said about the importance of transition into CRSTS2, but also couple of the schemes in here are Bristol City Council schemes requesting change of funds, such as the Harbour Place Shaping Strategy, the Bristol City Centre and High Streets Recovery Renewal Programme, and the South Bristol Workspace, which, as you will know, Dan, is a part of the city that has serious levels of deprivation.
Very important, that one. Yeah. Okay, thank you, everybody. Unless there's anyone else wishes to say anything else, there is one recommendation on page 25. Can all those in favour please show now? Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, that's carried. Okay, we're now going to item 11, that's update on progress with the Climate and Ecological Strategy and Action Plan. Now, this report sets out the progress made against the Climate and Ecological Strategy and Action Plan. Our local nature recovery strategy was the first anywhere in the country, and I'll say that twice because it's a major achievement for our region, anywhere in the country, and we continue apace to make our area the bee and pollinator capital of the UK, among other things. So, we're doing really well. It is exactly a good example of the thing I've just mentioned, that you've got to point to success to get future success. And again, this is an area where, irrespective of political difference, party difference, we are all terribly keen to be leading on this at the cutting edge, pushing forward, not following behind, not least catalysed by seeing Donald Trump and all his nonsense that goes on. I expect that'll get reported in the national papers as an MP now, but never mind. It really is really important that people who understand the climate emergency and its urgency are doing things, not just talking about it, and we're going to be leading at the front, and I hope the new mayor will be doing that too. So I'll move the report. Is there a seconder, please? Ian.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to second this paper and particularly welcome the added emphasis on the adaptation and resilience and the recognition of the growing physical impacts and associated costs caused by a changing climate. I also welcome the more explicit connection made between the need for increasing investment in climate and nature to support growth, and hope to see a strong read across the local growth plan. I know that the Combined Authority and the Unitary Authority teams are working collaboratively, but I think it's important that the next iteration of this report provides recognition of the role played by the unitary authorities in the co-delivery of actions, given the fact that the unitary authorities also have their own extensive climate and nature emergency action plans, which can work symbiotically with this plan. So, for example, just to illustrate this, South Gloucestershire's approved Year 6 action plan contains 76 actions for 25-26. So joint working on the rapid adaptation pathway assessment, and both organisations working to produce adaptation reports under DEFRA's ARP4 process are worth highlighting as examples of really good collaboration working and also our mutually supportive role. So I hope that collaboration between the Combined Authority and the Unitary Authority teams can continue, and this is more fully reflected when the next iteration of this report comes back to committee.
Thank you very much, Ian. Tony.
Thank you, Dan. I think we're already seeing the benefits from the Green Recovery Fund. In Bristol, we're using that to improve our parks and green spaces, and it's increasing the percentage of BCC land managed for nature by 20%. We're also continuing to invest heavily into decarbonising our own corporate estate. We've now reduced emissions since 15-16 by 90%, which is well ahead of any other similar city.
Fantastic.
And also, with the help of our partners in City Leap, we are now looking at legally compliant ways of securing a supply of renewable energy from community groups. What that will then allow us to do is to pay money back into community groups like Ambition Lawrence Western, so they actually see the benefit locally of renewable energy investment in their area. The last thing I'll just say is Bristol has now developed the largest city-based environmental network in Europe with over 1,200 member organisations, and we are looking to work with that going forward to further help recover nature.
Thank you very much indeed, Tony. Kevin?
Yeah, thank you, Dan. I think Green Recovery Fund is something we can all be extremely proud of. It's a great success over the last few years, and as you said, Dan, it's an exemplar. And I think a key to that is we need to make sure moving forward when we do these reports that we really get the impacts and outcomes and data from this, so we can share that as best practice with other regions that are not as forward thinking or as advanced as we are, because just doing our little bit in this small bit of the planet is not enough. So if we can record that data and share those impacts of how good we are, then that could only be good for everybody.
Thank you very much. Well, if you'll indulge me, I mean, look, I feel that because in the history of the planet, the UK is the second biggest contributor to CO2 emissions, and we make up 0.07% of the Earth's surface. So we have to show moral leadership. If we want people to think, oh, it's just about our locality, that is important. Of course it is, and we're going to carry on doing the fantastic work that we're doing. And I do agree completely, Ian, that is a joint effort, and that's why it's worked so well, I'm sure, because there has been that collaboration. Can I pay tribute to Roger Hoare, who's done fantastic work with his team from the combined authorities point of view as well, liaising and having good communications and that trusting relationship that means we can make a difference. But if we're going to influence the world, have the impact on a bigger scale so we can amplify the fantastic things we're doing, we do need to be able to point to these successes and stay at that cutting edge. And we're way ahead at the moment, and the challenge is going to be for us to stay that far ahead because others are going to catch up, and that's exactly what we want to be in that tension. We want people to be looking to us and trying to catch us up, because that means we're having reach beyond our region, because this is a global crisis, not just a regional challenge. Okay, so look, there are 3 recommendations, which I'll take on block if everyone's happy about that. Yeah, okay. In that case, all those in favour, please show. Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Right, we're now going to move on to item 12. And Christina said some very nice words about that. And me, thank you, Christina. The pressure's on me. Will I put my hand up? I have to vote for this. The others don't have to, as long as we got a majority. But I have to. If I get paralysed now, that line could get delayed again, couldn't it? So you better help my hand be moved up, Stephen, should that suddenly happen. Okay. All right, let me get back to the serious business. So the highlight of this report is, of course, the Bristol to Portishead line. And after 60 years, this report formalises agreement for funding to enable the construction of the Bristol and Portishead railway line. Once built, it will take just 23 minutes approximately to travel between Bristol and Portishead, or the other way around, of course, and it will mean 8 million fewer miles are driven by cars each and every year from 2041. A good example of doing things that make a real difference about delivery, because that's what it is in the end. And that's obviously vital to the climate emergency. So I'm going to move the report. Can I call for a seconder, please? Is there a seconder? You can all put your hands up together. If you like, I'm spending 27 million, so you can all stick your hands up. I don't care. You know, success has many parents. Failure is an orphan. I'm quite happy if you ought to do it. Take as much credit as you like, because I want to see the damn thing happen. It's been a bane of my life since I've been mayor in some ways, because it's always been tantalisingly close and not happened. I really feel it's going to happen now, and I thank everybody for their part in making this happen in the combined authority, and I hope North Somerset are damn appreciative, because we've given 27 million, they've given 3 million, and when they say, isn't it great, there's cooperative working, yeah, I'd take that deal as well every day of the week. Thanks very much. Okay, so there are 4 recommendations, which I'll take in turn. The first is for voting on, and then the latter recommendations 2, 3 and 4 are to note. So recommendation 1, so basically this is to approve and draw down the money, which is 27.216 million for those who'd like to know these kind of details. It is important because it means it's going to get this happening. So all those in favour, please show now. Okay, my hand's gone up. I could have hesitated and brought attention to the meeting, but I'm not going to, because I'm very pleased to be able to support this. So that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And then we're going to look at recommendation 2, which is for noting. Is that noted, please? Thank you very much. That's noted. The same with recommendation 3. Is that noted, please? Yes. And recommendation 4, which is one that is very dear to my heart, because this talks about getting a Salford railway station, among others, which I am incredibly keen of and been campaigning for since I was younger than Kevin, I think. Kevin, sorry to refer to you in that way, but a long time.
You're really old,
Well, I am. I'm not a young man anymore. Okay, so look, that would be really good. So can we note that, please? Thank you very much indeed. Okay, I think we should have a cheer and a round of applause. Well done, everyone. Okay. Right, we now move to item 13. So this is the Mayoral Combined Authority and Mayoral Budget Forecast 2024-2025. These are so interestingly entitled, Stephen. I don't know how you do it. You must be up all night. Okay, I formally move the report. Can I ask for a seconder, please? Thank you very much, Tony. Do you wish to speak to this, Tony? No, you're a good man. A very wise call. Do any members wish to speak on this who haven't indicated? Okay, thank you very much indeed for your non-comments. There's one recommendation as set out on page 117 to note. Do members note that, please? Well done. Thank you very much. That's noted. Okay, we now move to item 14. That's contract standing orders. This paper provides an update to the contract standing orders of the Mayoral Combined Authority. The Audit Committee recommended the update for formal approval by this committee. So I move the report. Is there a seconder, please? Thank you very much, Kevin. Does anyone wish to speak to this? Okay, very wise, I would suggest. Thank you all for your non-comments. There is one recommendation on page 137. All those in favour, please show. Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much indeed. Right, now we're moving to the closure of the meeting. So, as you know, this is my last meeting with you as Mayor. I'd like to thank our current officers and wish them and all the other committee members here today, genuinely I wish them this, the very best for the future, and to wish my successor, whoever that may be, great success and above all luck, because in politics you need luck as well as good people around you and good policies. And, you know, we've had some luck because we made our luck on the Portishead and Bristol line, and we need to keep doing that, and I'm sure the new Mayor will be keen to do that. This is obviously a very amazing region to live in, work in and study. I care very much about it. It's given me every opportunity I've ever had, and I've always been very proud to reciprocate and give that back. So thank you, everybody, for the electors, for giving me the opportunity to hold this amazing role and have the impact that I've had in the last 4 years working with other people, of course. My personal highlights have been, well, working with Kevin, obviously, Kevin. We've had a fantastic relationship. It's worked well. Birthday buses with over 1 million free journeys in year one and a record-breaking start to this year has obviously been a highlight. For me, it's a policy that is now proven to be value for money as supported by auditors. I don't always agree with auditors, but on this occasion I do. And get people out of their cars and change behaviour long-term, again, fitting into our environmental concerns quite rightly too. The planting of 35,000 new trees, some amazing endeavours. I think it's 113 acres near Penswood is the first stage, so it's 13 more acres than Winnie the Pooh had in his woods, so that is fantastic. Plus, I think another 400 acres further south, or whatever, I can't quite remember the figure, forgive me, I've got that wrong. And obviously, this is a stepping stone to plans for much greater tree planting more broadly in our region. I think we're going to be hearing some exciting stuff about that fairly soon. Certainly hope so. Increasing train use. You heard me say that that's gone up by 27% to 3.4 million car journeys a year since introducing the half-hour local services to places like Keynsham and others. And then also we've transformed the equivalent of 678, if Kevin Slocum's listening, I hope he is, Ashton Gate pitches, not Bristol Rovers pitches, to create a new improved habitat for bees and pollinators. That comes to 484 hectares. Also, of course, the tallest wind turbine in the country, generating clean power at Avonmouth. We made a significant investment along with some others to make sure that could go ahead, and that's been fantastic for us. Retrofit West, that's been important because that's the trailblazer that the government is partly using in their national initiative. So again, that's shaping the national agenda because that's what it's about, not just what we do locally, but how we influence the wider world. £37 million have been invested in skilling up workers, and we've exceeded my objective already in creating 23,000 new green jobs. I thought it was ambitious. It's been really good. Creating green jobs is a really smart idea, and don't let anyone tell you anything different. It's a fantastic opportunity for young people and others, but it also makes all the difference for all the things that we care passionately about, of course, as well. And as of today, of course, the completion of the 60-year saga of the Bristol and Portishead line, thanks to, dare I say, a Labour mayor working with a Labour government. We've had lots of talk under previous governments who've suddenly said, you know, things are going to happen, and then suddenly there's some ecological hiccup, apparently, and what we really know is that they didn't have the money. That's why we've got this 22 billion black hole. So we're going to have to sort that. We're doing our bit, and I look forward to hopefully joining you. I hope you will invite me when you go to that opening. I look forward to seeing that happening more than anyone could ever believe. Okay, and Angel has also been a highlight for me over the last 4 years, but I suspect everybody knows that. Okay, so thinking of all these things has brought back some wonderful memories, actually, over the last 4 years. Memories of working with people who are fun and humorous, hardworking and loyal, talented with a can-do attitude, which I think is terribly important, and enthusiastic, all the times with the best interests of the fantastic people of our region at heart rather than themselves. I think that's really important that we remember who we serve and who are the bosses. It's not us, it's the people. These are qualities that I find hugely admirable, I have to say. The rest of you, well, you know who you are, but those are the qualities that I think are really important, and I'm grateful to those people who show them day in, day out, working to serve the public. I have to say politics is either utopia or a bit like shoveling manure uphill. So I'm pleased we've now been able to put the shovels down for a bit today to come together for our region to back the Bristol and Portishead line. It's a fine achievement. We're not quite there until they stick those shovels properly in, which is very imminent now. It's a vital step in what I know will be even greater successes for the West of England. And I'll be cheering you on. Thank you very much. If I can speak, I'm choking. The meeting is now closed. Excuse me. Thank you for attending.